Hi, everybody. Today we are answering the question why caregivers don't get the help they need. I'm Pamela D. Wilson. My website is pameladwilson.com. On there, a lot of helpful information for caregivers and aging adults. So, we're going to look at 4 examples of caregiving issues that really apply to any life situation. So, if you're not yet a caregiver, don't go away because these will apply to work, to personal relationships, to everything that you do. And I'm going to start with a caregiving example because I want to take this all the way to an extreme situation so that you can relate to where we're going with these insights. How many of you know someone who has dementia or Alzheimer's disease? People who have dementia or Alzheimer's eventually become very forgetful. The short-term memory loss can be a matter of seconds. And so an example that I'll give for this will be you may be talking to your mom who has Alzheimer's, and your mom may say, "What day of the week is it?" And you say, "Well, Mom, it's Friday." And you turn, and she says to you again, "What day of the week is it?" And you say, "Mom, it's Friday." The challenge with memory loss and Alzheimer's and dementia, which is a very sad disease, is that recall eventually totally goes away. And sometimes early in the disease, when a parent has Alzheimer's and they're first told, they may say, "Oh, what are you talking about? I don't have memory loss. That's crazy. I can remember everything." But they really can't. And so they're not purposely being difficult or resistant. They truly don't remember that they don't remember, which is very frustrating for caregivers who don't have a lot of knowledge or training about how to care for people with Alzheimer's. There's help for that on my website. The second example of why caregivers or why we in life in any situation don't get the help that we need is that we think we are more skilled or smarter than we are. And this applies across the board. So let's use a couple of examples. Let's say maybe you like to play cards or you play chess or you're a skier. And the people that you play with, you're better than they are. You always win, okay? But sometimes the challenge is the people that we spend time with are at our level. And if we want to get better and if we want to improve, we have to spend time with people who are better than we are. And sometimes we don't always have access immediately to those people. So if you ski or you play chess, go ski with people who ski blacks instead of blues or instead of greens. And all of a sudden you'll be like, "Holy moly, I'm not as good as I thought I was. My skills are not as good as I thought I was." Or if you play chess or checkers or whatever, go to tournaments and start playing with people who are better than you are. That's a way actually to get the help that you need in any life situation, is to find people who know more, find people who are better than you are at something and who are willing to share. A third insight into why caregivers and people in life don't get the help they need is sometimes we come across people who are very skilled. And for health and caregiving, I'll use the healthcare system. You go to a doctor appointment or a specialist, and these people have been doing this for 10 or 20 or 30 years. They have a lot of information up here. They're very smart. But the problem is they can't present or relay information in any words or terms that you understand. You're sitting in this doctor appointment and all this stuff is just going over your head and you're thinking, "I don't know what this person's talking about, but I would feel too stupid to ask a question because I don't want them to think that I'm stupid or I don't know what they're telling me." But how could you? You don't have a medical degree. You haven't been seeing patients for 30 years. So as caregivers and as individuals, when we're in situations where we're talking to people that have a lot more education or a lot more skills, the plan is to ask questions. When I used to train my staff in care management and guardianship and everything that I do, I would always say there's never any stupid questions. The only stupid questions are the ones that you don't ask. So get comfortable with being uncomfortable about the fact that you don't know things. For all of us, doesn't matter what we do, there are people that know more. There are people that are better than we are at what we do. That's the blessing in life. That's the beauty in life, that there's always somewhere to go to get more information if we're interested. And then the fourth insight into why caregivers or people don't get what they need is the workplace. So if you're in the workplace, let's relate this to going to work every day for years, 10 years, 20 years. How many good bosses have you actually had in your lifetime? Most people that I know would say very few. I was fortunate to have 3 great, amazing bosses who I remember to this day. But what was good about them was that they were willing to share and teach and train, but they also were willing to give feedback. And I was willing to accept that feedback, no matter if my emotions got a little bit bruised because I felt like, oh man, I should have known that, or, why didn't I know that, or, silly me. The more interested we are in learning and the more willing we are to accept feedback, even if it sometimes bruises our egos a little bit, the further we can get and the more help we can seek, the more people will want to help us if we're willing and interested to learn. And that's huge in caregiving or any life situation, but especially caregiving, because we don't have a lot of prior experience doing this, taking care of mom or dad or somebody with Alzheimer's or dementia or any type of chronic disease, or going to doctor appointments or dealing with hospital personnel. It's a lot of work. And most caregivers admit that until they get into the situation, they had no idea what they were getting into, and it's overwhelming. And sometimes they're trying to figure out how to manage it all, which many caregivers do. The last insight into why caregivers can't get the help they need, and I'm going to reverse this one to life situations. It's a lack of understanding that if we are at a certain level, other people are not. And I'll use a personal example from my family. Most of us think that our parents are mine anyway. Mine were wonderful. I won the parent lottery. My parents were great. But as I going through my life, I went to grade school, I went to high school, I went to college. My parents, born in, the 1910s, the 1920s, one finished high school, one did not. They did not go to college, but yet they had me, a college educated child. And I assumed that my parents knew everything that I did. Now, what on earth was I basing that on? I was basing it on the fact that I loved them and they were my parents, but I didn't realize the effect on my life of life experiences that they didn't have. And obviously they had life experiences I didn't have, but just all of the additional education and things when they were alive. They've been passed on for 25 years now. I used to do their income taxes and did a lot of organization and things like that. And when my mom passed away, and I was the trustee of the estate and I'm going through all the documents, I didn't realize that she never knew how to balance a checkbook. I looked at the back of the bank statements, where you write, beginning balance, checks written, ending balance. I'm like, holy moly, how did she manage all of these years? Because I thought my mom was a really good money manager, and she was. She actually taught me how to spend and not spend money, and not use credit and pay for things with cash. So sometimes in life situations, no matter who we are working with, our parents, people in the healthcare system, a doctor, somebody on the other phone on the insurance line, we can all assume that people know everything that we do. And this is why, as a caregiver, it's important to ask questions, to realize that in so many situations, it's impossible to know what you don't know. It's impossible to know what all of us don't know. How many of us have ever said, oh my gosh, I wish somebody would have told me that. Oh my gosh, I wish I would have known that. Oh, how frustrating. This situation could have been so much different, so much better if only I would have known. So my advice to you is think of these insights in everything that you do, caregiving, life, relationships, at work, and translate them to realizing that we don't know what we don't know. Asking questions is good. Never think that you have all the skills, not that you don't want to be confident in what you're doing, but never think that you can't learn from another person. Find people who will help you, who are willing to explain things at the most basic level if you don't understand. Caregiving is a life role, whether you're just caring for children now, or parents, or grandparents, or a spouse, or yourself. It's a life role, and it is a lifelong learning event. And the things that you learn are life affecting, they're health affecting. Caregiving is life and death. It's all those uncomfortable things that we don't want to talk about. So seek information. Visit my website, PamelaDWilson.com. There is a lot of helpful information there. Hundreds of videos like this on my Facebook and YouTube and LinkedIn pages and Vimeo, where you can find a lot of hope, help, and support for caregivers, aging adults, and actually information that applies to all aspects of life. Have a fabulous day today. I will see you all again soon.